Hey everybody, this is Justina, Senior Gold Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide, and I wanted to do a little video to chat with you guys about conducting yourself in a professional manner. Now, one really great benefit that we all have from being with Plexus is that they offer this opportunity to anybody. So whether you used to work in a professional setting, or maybe you're a farmer, or maybe you've just always been a stay-at-home mom, you can take advantage of the business opportunity that Plexus offers. And I think that that is super amazing. However, I wanted to talk to you guys today about how to conduct yourself in a professional manner. And I think that this is really, really important because not all of us have had experience in a professional setting. And so to some of us, it can feel super overwhelming. So I spent almost all of my career working in a professional setting before I joined Plexus, and I actually still do part-time. But I wanted to come in and just give you guys some tips or discuss some kind of common things that I've noticed that might be unintentionally making yourself not look professional. And hopefully these tips can help you, which will help your business grow. So to start, I want you to realize that the way that you conduct yourself as a business owner, but part of your bigger team and part of One Plexus, is that it doesn't just affect you in your own business. When you do things or say things or behave in certain ways, whether it's good or bad, it affects your business. It affects your upline's business and their upline, and then your diamond, and then it affects Plexus as a whole company. So don't we both owe it to ourselves to put our very best foot forward and give the best version of ourselves that we can, not only for our business, but for our uplines who love us and try to take care of us, and our diamonds who love us and try to take care of us, and for Plexus as a whole, because without Plexus, we wouldn't even have this opportunity. So here are a couple of my tips that I hope you guys will appreciate. The first one is we do a lot of group chats in our conversations with people. I think it's very, very important that when you start a conversation, you are either A, prepared to be engaged in that conversation when you start it, and or B, start the conversation, but let the person know that you have something going on. Like, hey, Sally, I just wanted to introduce you to my friend Justina. She knows a lot more about these products than I do, so I wanted her to be in here to be sure we give you all the correct information. I have a couple of errands to run really quick, but in about an hour, I'll be back to join this conversation. So I just wanted to let you know. Simple as that, just, for a quick example. So the importance of this is a couple things. If you start a group chat and you're like, hey, Sally, this is my upline, Justina, blah, 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 you introduce them, and then you say to Sally, what specific questions do you have? And then Sally's on the ball because she's excited about Plexus, and she replies back immediately, and she's like, oh my gosh, so is it gluten-free, and like, do you have this, or what does the drink taste like, etc. And she's excited and she's ready. And then you just disappear, Sally's not going to really feel like she's important to you, and Sally's excitement might die off, especially if your upline is not ready or available to engage in the conversation right away. So either A, start your group chats and be ready to be present, or B, let them know that you have a few things to do. That way you're providing the very best customer service and they can feel like they're taken care of while they wait for you. The next part that kind of ties into that is don't ever open a message unless you have time to respond to it. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh my gosh, I opened the message and then I had to make my kids lunch, so I forgot to go back and reply. If you never open the message, then that can't really happen because that notification is still there. Also, if you have an iPhone, you can kind of hover over the message and like read a good chunk of it before actually opening it. So if you need to just really quick check what it is and then decide if you can reply right now or not, you could do that. You could choose not to open it yet. Or a third option would be open it, tell the person, hey, I'm in the middle of something right now, but I just wanted to let you know I saw your message and I'll be back in a little bit. You can do that, but then you still have to remember to go back, which sometimes can be hard. So my best tip is do not open a message unless you plan on replying right then, okay? Moving on from that, we do a lot of group calls and stuff. And sometimes, like in book club, we have to take turns unmuting ourselves and talking, and that's great. But other times, we might be like doing a welcome call with an upline or something, or a business prospecting call. If you're not the one talking at that moment, even if you are engaging in and out of the conversation, I suggest you mute yourself while you're not the one talking. And then when you have something to say, just quick unmute yourself and talk. The reason for this is, especially if you have a lot of background noise going on, it can be distracting to both your new prospect person and for your upline who's trying to focus and pay attention, etc. And sometimes that background noise can be enough that we don't hear what someone is saying, and then we have to be like, oh, what? And it just makes the conversation a lot messier. And to me, a smooth conversation that flows comes off as a lot more professional than mass chaos going on in the background. So the next tip is to give correct information, and don't be afraid to say that you don't know. I've seen some people before just guess and give someone an answer to a question, and then that guess was wrong. And then as an upline, you have to go back and do a lot of damage control and try to gently explain how whatever they were told actually isn't correct. And then, unfortunately, it can kind of make your person who accidentally said the wrong information not look that great. But it can also cause a trust issue in that relationship. It's really important, guys, that our VIP customers and our retail customers and even potential business builders have a trust in you and a trust in your upline who's going to help to train them. If they feel like we aren't on the same page, they're not really going to have trust in us as a team and our ability to guide and lead them. So don't be afraid to say, you know what? I think it's this, but I'm going to go double check really quick. Or even say, you know what? That is an awesome question. I have never thought about that before. I'm going to go find out and I'll be back. That's always such a much better option than just guessing and giving someone incorrect information. My next tip is this: be a person of your word. If you're talking with someone and then they get busy and they say, hey, could we pick this up tomorrow afternoon? And you're like, sure, how's 2:00 sound? And they're like, yeah, let's do that. Go immediately to wherever you keep track of your stuff. Like I go to the calendar in my phone automatically because it sets up a notification for me. I go to my calendar and I immediately put in like check in on Sally at 2 p.m. I just put it in there for tomorrow. And then the next day when I'm going through my calendar, I don't forget to check in with Sally. See, if we tell Sally, yeah, we'll check in with you tomorrow at 2, and then we don't at all, or it's like 8:00 at night and we're like, oh my gosh, Sally. And then we're like, hey, Sally, like, so sorry, I got busy, da-da-da. Like, yes, life happens sometimes, but have we really made Sally feel like she's important to us or a priority to us? To me, I wouldn't feel like I was very much of a priority if we had an appointment and then someone didn't just show up. Another thing with that is, and that I've run into a couple of times, is if you schedule a call with somebody, make sure that you make that call. And if you can't, always just contact them and say like, hey, I'm not ready to talk yet, or can we reschedule, or whatever it is, just because it's really important to respect everyone's time involved. And I've had some situations come up for me personally recently where calls had to start late or be missed for unexpected things. Like that happens. So the other day my daughter like lost her whole toenail right like 2 seconds before I was supposed to start a call, and my call ended up starting late because there was blood all over and she was screaming and there was just nothing I could do. So of course stuff happens. No one is perfect, but if you do your best most of the time, that's going to make you become a more professional person in your business. So my next thing is this: try not to sound like you're a telemarketer. Talk like you really are. If you wouldn't call me on the phone and be like, hey girl, how you doing? I was just wondering if you're ready to place your order yet. Let's chat. If you wouldn't talk to me like that as soon as I say hello on the phone, then you probably shouldn't talk to me like that in messages, because it doesn't sound genuine. It doesn't sound authentic. It doesn't sound like you're really talking to them. It sounds like you're copying and pasting the same message 50 times, which you probably are if you're talking like that. So make it real. Pretend like it's a conversation. Hey, Justina, how are you doing? I know that you said you guys all got COVID last week. Are you guys feeling any better yet? You know, I heard that taking at least 10,000 IU of vitamin D a day can really help people to recover quicker. Have you guys been taking any extra vitamin D? And that's it. Don't bring up Plexus right away. Let them engage back with you. And then as soon as they're like, oh, I'm feeling better, blah, 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 then you can move on with your Plexus conversation. But if you don't really, truly care about your people and demonstrate that to them, they're not going to have a good relationship with you in the same way as if you do. And that's what's going to lead to long-term customers and or people deciding to become a business builder for you because of the relationship that you've developed. So I think that's super important too. The next thing that I want to talk about is it's super important to be professional on your social media. I want you to imagine your social media is now like your storefront. When people go and look, especially when you're friend requesting new people to expand your market, what are they going to see? Are they going to see someone that they feel like is trustworthy and credible? Because if they don't, then they're probably not going to be ordering from you because you're not a trustworthy, credible person. And so why would they trust their health with you, right? So I want you to think about that and try to really add value in your posts. Do your posts invoke trust? Like, are they like, oh, wow, this girl knows what she's talking about, right? Or are your posts like, oh, yeah, I don't know if I'd even want to hang out with her in real life. So yeah, like think about that. It's important. The next thing that I want to talk about that's super important is this, and it's simple, but it gets missed a lot, is do the training. Do the training. Educate yourself. Grow. As a man thinketh, so is he. So I want you to think about this. If you want to be an electrician, but the only tool you know how to use is a screwdriver, and you get an apprenticeship and you're honest with them and you say, hey, I only know how to use a screwdriver, they're going to be like, okay, we'll teach you. Don't worry about it. But if they give you material to read or videos to watch or projects where you practice using the tools that you need for that trade and you don't do any of it, and a year later they've spent a lot of time with you and you still only know how to use a screwdriver, they're probably not going to keep you on because you're probably never going to become an electrician. And so I want you to think about that. If you want to be a diamond in this business, are you growing yourself? Are you learning the things? Are you doing the trainings? Are you studying the product ingredients? Are you learning the differences between the slim microbiome and the slim hunger control so that when somebody says to you, hey, what's the difference? You don't need to look it up. You can just spout it off because you know. Not only that, but when you know, it makes you so much more confident in your conversations. There's no hesitation. There's no uncertainty. You know that you know this and you can be confident and walk in that. It's super, super important to learn the tools of our trade. Now, we're not electricians and we might all need, know how to use screwdrivers when we start, but by the time we're done, we should know how to rewire a house. And that's like diamond level. So if we're not heading in that way and we're not learning how to appropriately and effectively use more tools, then we really need to take a look at ourselves and see if we're going to end up where we think we're going. So the next tool that I would like to, or tip, I mean, the next tip that I'd like to bring up to you guys is this: become the best testimony of the products. And you're probably thinking, like, what does that mean? I've seen testimonies or stories that are so much more awesome than mine. But not everyone else has. Not your potential people that have never seen Plexus, they haven't. And the story that is going to mean the most to them is the one that you're showing on your social media all the time. When you're showing your before and afters, when you're showing how your skin used to be versus how your skin is now, when you're talking about your energy, when you're talking about your vitality, when you're talking about your sleep, when you're showing your weight loss or your weight gain, whatever it is you have going on, if you're not showing that, they might not see those other stories that you've seen that you're like, wow, this is amazing. And even if we do share those amazing testimonies on our social media, it's not as real to them as someone that they really know. They really know you because they're your friend. They're not Bob the Builder's friend who you shared his really great testimony. So they just can't connect with it in the same way. So how can we tell people, get your water in every day, that's why your stuff isn't working? How can we tell people, take your supplements every single day, drink your pink drink every single day? How can we expect people to do that if we aren't willing to do it ourselves? I really want you guys to think about that. Almost done. I know this is getting a little long, but the last thing that I would like to talk about is this. Well, two things actually. So the first one is rely on your upline until you're trained. And I mean, like for an example, Leah, who is my upline above my Aunt Linda, she still relies on her Diamond Jamie a lot. She still learns from her all the time. She still takes questions to Jamie all the time, and she's an emerald because she's not done learning and growing. And even at diamond level, those girls are still training and still learning and still growing and still showing up and doing the book clubs and learning new things each time, even if they've already read the book before. We have to be willing to rely on the people that have gone before us until we know what we're doing. And if not, how are we going to get there? And even if we did, it might be pretty darn hard when, let's say, our emerald has already carved a path into this big steep hill that we need to go up, right? And we're like, nope, I'm doing my own. Whereas if she's like, hey, let me show you the way. Here it is. I've done a lot of groundwork for you. We can rely on that and actually have an easier time than the people who came before us. And we need to take advantage of that because it's a huge blessing. The last thing, and I should have brought it up earlier when I was talking about group chats, but I just thought of it last minute, so it's at the bottom of my notes, but it's this. Be present in your group chats. So if you are starting a group chat, whether you're new or old, with your upline, and your upline is leading the chat because you're not there yet, that's okay. But you need to be present. You need to read every single thing that is written in that chat. You need to see what the customer or potential is saying, and you need to see how your upline is responding to that. And you need to duplicate that. And what I mean by that is there will be certain ways that your upline handles objections. There will be certain things that your upline does not say, and certain times where your upline feels it's appropriate to do things like discuss pricing. And if you aren't duplicating those things, you're more likely to not be successful when you're leading your own chats. And you're going to be that electrician who a year later only knows how to use a screwdriver because you haven't been paying attention. All we have to do really in so much of this job is just pay attention to what the people before us have done and duplicate it. And how do I know that? It's like this. Jamie did certain things and she became a diamond, right? Well, Leah's under Jamie. Leah is doing those same things and now she's an emerald and on her way to diamond. I want you guys to think about that. I'm following in Jamie's footsteps. So where will I end up? I'm following in Leah's footsteps and in my aunt's footsteps. So where will I end up if they've been going before me and they're experiencing the success that I want to experience? If you're not willing to rely on your upline and be present in your chats and pay attention to what's happening, then how are you ever going to learn those things? So don't start a chat with your upline, see that they're starting to engage with your potential, and then go take a nap. Because you're only hurting yourself. And the very, very last thing I want to say is this. If you, even though we don't do door-to-door sales like this, but I want you to just close your eyes and picture this. If you knocked on your own door right now, knock, 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 open the door, hello. And you're like, hi, my name's Justina. I noticed that you've been struggling with migraines and struggling to lose weight. I think I have something that could help you. And you go on and you describe Plexus and etc. Is that person going to want to try it? Do you know the things to say right there in person in a real life, real-time conversation? Enough things at least to get them to try it. Or do you even know enough to say, you know what, let me check really quick. and call up your upline and say, hey, I'm talking to this girl right now and here's her struggles and here's what I'm thinking, but I wanted to double check with you, like, is this the right product combination to recommend to her? Oh, awesome. Okay. Yes. So I just wanted to double check that for you, but here's what I think you should try. Do you have the skills to do that you could sell right now in person if you knocked on your own door? And I want you to think about that in a couple other ways too. Like if I have bedhead and a spit up baby shirt on and all of this other stuff, right? And I knocked on my own door and was like, hey, here's this thing that gives you a ton of energy, makes you feel great and look great inside and out. I'd be like, are you sure? You know? And I'm not saying that you have to be put together all the time. I am not put together all the time. I usually have a crazy mom bun and I don't wear makeup every single day. But recently, I have started making more of an effort to do those things because if I knocked on my door looking like this, I might be a little more willing to listen to someone talk about how I'm not a mom zombie anymore than I would be if I was looking like a mom zombie trying to talk about how I'm not a mom zombie. You see what I'm saying? So if your answer is yeah, I think I could at least get someone willing to try it or at least willing to have a conversation with my upline at minimum, then keep going. If you're like, ooh, yeah, I probably couldn't convince myself to try this, if I didn't know anything about it, then I really want you to take a look at yourself and maybe go over some of these tips I offered and see if they could help you, because we all want to go to Diamond. I know I want to go to Diamond, and I want to conduct myself in a way that's going to help me get there. So I hope these tips were helpful to you guys, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.